All right, let's get right into it. Something absolutely wild is happening in Washington, D.C. right now. We're talking a full-on federal crackdown with armed troops, insane felony charges, and, get this, squirrel feeding? Yeah, you heard me right. Let's break down this crazy story. Okay, so this isn't a movie, this is real life. The nation's capital is being flooded with armed troops. It is a crazy scene. Before we dive into exactly how we got here, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button because you are not going to want to miss this breakdown. So DC is officially under federal control. But how did this all start? Well, it kicked off when President Trump ordered this massive crackdown. He put DC police under federal command and sent in thousands of troops. And his reason for doing it? Well, it was pretty blunt. Yep, you're seeing that right. A direct quote from the president. He called the Capitol a crime-infested rathole. He blamed it on illegal immigration and homelessness, and I kid you not, even said they were getting rid of the actual rats too. So what's the grand solution for all this? Well, the administration came up with a very official-sounding name for it. Behold, the Safe and Beautiful Task Force. Sounds almost heroic, doesn't it? And to make DC safe and beautiful again, they brought in a lot of people. But just how many troops are we actually talking about here? Over 2,200. Let that sink in. We're talking more than 2,200 National Guard soldiers and airmen on the streets of an American city. That is a huge military presence, which, brings us to the next part of the story, where things on the ground start to get, well, let's just say, really interesting. Guns, guards, and squirrels. Seriously, you've got all these troops in the city, but the big question is, what are they equipped with? Because a brand new order just dropped, and it completely changes the game for them. And bam, they are now armed. We're not talking about just for show. Most are carrying M17 pistols, and some even have M4 assault rifles. This is a massive escalation. I mean, these are the same soldiers who were supposed to be helping with stuff like traffic control, and now they're packing some serious heat. The order came straight from the top, from Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, and his reason for it was, well, let's just say it was short and sweet. That's it. 2 words. Common sense. That is the entire official explanation for why you have soldiers with assault rifles directing traffic. It's something. So, okay, they've got M4s, they've got pistols. What on earth are they actually doing all day? Right? I mean, you'd think it would be some intense, high-stakes stuff. You'd think they'd be on the front lines of this crime crackdown. But a report from the Associated Press on the ground tells let's say, a very different story. Okay, you cannot make this stuff up. The AP is reporting that these heavily armed troops are out there feeding squirrels, grabbing a coffee, and posing for pictures with tourists. I mean, the contrast is just incredible, right? It's kind of the perfect symbol for this whole thing. But okay, let's shift gears and see how this is actually impacting the people who live in DC. All right, Section 3, the open container felony. This is where we get into a specific and pretty shocking example. Let's talk about a guy named Mark Bigelow. He's 28. And his run-in with the Safe and Beautiful Task Force is exactly what critics of this whole operation have been worried about. So get this, Mark gets pulled over. Not just by local cops, oh no. We're talking a full-on multi-agency team, FBI, IC, DEA, the whole alphabet soup. All for what? A suspected open container of alcohol in his car. A beer! But that's not even the craziest part. What happened next is where this story just goes completely off the rails. So let's follow the chain of events here. It starts with an open container. That leads to an arrest. Then, during the arrest, he allegedly makes physical contact with an officer, and boom, suddenly this guy's facing up to 8 years in prison on a federal charge. From a beer can to 8 years in federal prison. It's just, wow. Of course, the White House has a very different take on all this. So the White House's rapid response team jumps on X, formerly Twitter, and basically calls him a would-be drunk driver and cop beater, saying it's a good thing he's off the streets. This whole incident really blows up the central question of this entire operation. Is any of this actually working? Which brings us to the great crime stat war. I mean, the whole point of this crackdown, the whole justification, is to make DC safer. So, is it? The answer, it turns out, really depends on who you ask. And it started a massive battle over the numbers. Okay, so from the White House, the message is crystal clear. Mission accomplished. Trump himself is calling it a miracle and says DC is now safe. End of story, right? Well, not so fast. Because when news outlets like CNN actually dug into the data, they found something a little more complicated. And here's the tale of the tape, side by side. On one hand, the White House is claiming a miracle reduction. On the other, CNN's analysis says it's more like a moderate drop. Two very, very different stories. But let's look at what the actual numbers say. Okay, so this chart is super important. You can see here, robberies, down, way down, over 40%. That's good. But look over here. Assaults with a dangerous weapon are actually up 14%, and burglaries are up 6%. So it's a really mixed bag. It's definitely not the straightforward miracle that's being claimed. And this whole situation, this weird mix of heavy-handed tactics and confusing results, has gotten so wild that it's officially crossed over into satire. Yep, it's literally a South Park episode now. You know things have gotten completely surreal when reality starts to look exactly like a parody. And that's precisely where we're at. I am not kidding. The creators of South Park officially announced their next special is going to be about this DC crackdown. I mean, think about that. When your real-life government policy is so bizarre that it becomes the plot of a South Park episode, it really makes you wonder what's going on.
And that's really the big question at the heart of all this, isn't it? Is what we're seeing actual, serious policy designed to make people safer? Or is it just content, a performance for the cameras? I really want to know what you guys think, so drop your thoughts in the comments.
And there you have it. That's the breakdown of the absolute madness going on in DC. If you learned something new, do me a huge favor and smash that like button. Seriously, it helps a ton. And make sure you are subscribed and have those notifications turned on so you don't miss the next one. Thanks for watching.